Hi, I'm Elliot, a writer, and I'm typing out The Great Gatsby. Why? Because that was something Hunter S Thompson did because he wanted to see what it would be like to write a masterpiece. Now that I've started this project 7 months ago, I need to finish it. So, join me every Saturday until I finish this whole novel. Hey, it's me, the Great Gatsby. Just kidding, it's Elliot. This is the Great Gatsby. Yeah, I've grown very attached to this book in a way that it's like when you're backpacking through Southeast Asia or Europe or something, and all you have is this backpack with you, and it becomes your home in a way, and kind of feels like that with this book, that it's this thing I've been carrying with me, this little project I've been working on throughout this pandemic, that it feels a little like home. This feels like home. I'm literally in my home right now, so it feels like a home within a home. If that makes sense. I don't think it does. Even as I'm saying it, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. This is a terrible way to begin a show with a metaphor. That doesn't make sense, but let's talk about it a bit more. Of this feeling of having something to turn to when every day can feel exactly the same, and you're just like, what did I do today? Oh yeah, I type The Great Gatsby, but look how far we've come. We're almost there. I tallied it up. I think we have, I'm going to say it. I'm going to call it right now. I think we have about 7 episodes left, including this one. That's not a lot. It's not a lot after you've done 28. So the countdown is on. The countdown is on, and it's like the end of a long trip. The end of a long trip. This is what it is. And I'm ready to go home. I'm leaving home. This is a new home. I don't know. I'm just waiting for things to go back to normal. Whether that means not typing this anymore, or that I could go to a restaurant or store, or literally just leave my home and not feel this fear about doing so. So, with that being said, here we are. Another episode of The Great Gatsby. I'm still alive. I hope you're still alive too. Really hope that it'll be weird if you are watching this and you're dead, but who knows how technology works. I would like to think that once you die, you could still consume content. It doesn't count as like a view, but you still know it's out there. It's out in the ether. That this thing that I produce is sitting out there, hanging out there, and you as a ghost can still see it. What am I saying? All right, let's get this episode started. Last time we left off, it was actually a very dramatic scene. I see here that I wrote Tim. I think it's Tom. Let me correct that now. Oh my god. That's so funny. Alright. Just go back and see. As I was saying, last episode we left off, very dramatic scene. Car accident. Tom. Nick. Gatsby's car, everything collided together at this kind of very end of a long chapter. A lot has happened this chapter. Started out with a party, then they went to New York. Now they're here in the aftermath of a car accident. Mrs. Wilson, Myrtle Wilson, Myrtle the Turtle Wilson, she's the victim of the accident, and I don't think she's gonna be in this story alive any longer. I think she's dead, but I don't know. Let's find out together. And so our intention this week, as we work our way through, I didn't really have anything in mind, so let's just see how this chapter ends. Let's just see how this long climactic chapter closes out. What is it that Fitzgerald does? What does it, I mean, honestly, cliffhanger can happen here. It makes me want to turn the page, but how does Fitzgerald come off of this really dramatic chapter and bring the story to a close? We're entering denouement area now. Who gets Daisy? Will Gatsby be in trouble? These are all questions that are going to be answered. So stay tuned. Don't touch that dial, you ghost. Let's start. I wrote Tim. Had not Tom held him upright. That's a weird sentence structure there. I would have had Tom not held him upright. I think that's what it's trying to correct me, but that's how Fitzgerald wrote it. So okay. Sorry everybody, this is a strange start here. I know there's like many different ways to approach typing out The Great Gatsby, just like there's many ways to approach reading a novel. And I'm one of those people who just reads until I'm tired. I don't really stop at the end of a chapter. Kind of approaching it the same way. I know it wasn't the most logical place to stop, but that's how I'm doing it. I get to do some things my way. Oops. Feel so, sometimes fingers just feel really tight. I feel like I'm like a pianist, like I'm performing right now, and I need to like do a good job, like play really nice music. Sometimes when you're writing and you do get into that flow, it does feel like you're like piano man. Yeah, I remember seeing a meme a long time ago. I have a lot to say today. I remember seeing a meme a while ago. Wait for it. And it's about, well, it was like an image of like this really pretentious guy writing in a coffee shop, and it says something like, writing isn't performance art. It always stuck with me, and I'm like, maybe it is. Maybe writing is performance art. And I think that's how this project kind of spawned. It's like, what if I tried to make a performance art out of it? what would it look like? Something like this. I think it's gonna take a little bit of adapting, understanding what worked, what didn't work. Just hasn't been anything like this before. It's like video game streaming. It's crazy until a kid makes $1 million. Another thing that I've noticed that I do, when you kind of have a camera and you're screen recording how you type, you realize that I'm someone who doesn't, when I notice a mistake, I don't just like go back and fix that one part. I like backspace all of it, all the way to the mistake, and then I type it out again. I'm not sure if that's faster than just like taking my hands off the keys and going, like locating it, isolating it, fixing that one part, and then going back. I feel like I'm doing it the slow way, but not everything needs to be about productivity. Uh-oh. I couldn't imagine doing this whole project on a typewriter. Could you imagine? Very tense moment here. You don't know who's gonna get in trouble, like who's gonna get blamed for this. He snapped. Let's get out. Things are not good. Let's just see. I think like leaving a crime scene. Whew. All right, they got out of there pretty easily. Oh no. Tom's sad now. I feel a little bad for this character. He's like a terrible guy, but you realize that, maybe Jay Gatsby is a terrible guy too. I think that's what it's showing us now. Even stop his car. It's a moment of reckoning. How do we feel about that? Who do we cheer for now? Just Nick, I guess. Really puts us in and I think that's what good writing is. It puts us in sort of this dilemma of who to cheer for. When it's just like a boring, drab story, it's like good guy versus bad guy. You're like, oh, okay, I want this guy to win because this guy's good, even though I usually cheer for the bad guy. I'm one of those audience members who I don't like a happy ending. So I like these type of conflicting types of characters where they're good and bad. Like George R. R. Martin says, like these gray characters that are kind of just have their own intentions and they're trying to do the right thing, what they think is right, but they end up harming people and they're not pure. I think that is such a important thing when creating these characters to like you could be cheering for them for a bit and then you look at them from another perspective and you're like, oh no, you're kind of shitty. So I think what this chapter did is really showed us the two sides of both Tom and Gatsby. So I think that's something to really take out from this whole chapter. This whole book really is how to build these kind of gray characters that you can't fully endorse. I can't believe I wrote Tim instead of Tom. It's so embarrassing. I bet if you're watching this from the previous episode and you're like, that son of a bitch wrote Tim and he didn't even notice. That's how observant I am with this thing. I kind of want to go back and just see all the typos that I've made just from like transcribing this onto this. I don't think I'm going to do that though. That's like a whole other project. Imagine if I was to like re-edit, or another idea, I just take whatever I remember and I try to rewrite this whole story in my own words. That'd be fun. Maybe it'd be better. Or it's, what is it, like when you're a translator, that must be like the hardest job imaginable. Not the hardest, but a very difficult job for sure. I just keep thinking of like actual hard jobs and how writing is compared to that. Like, it takes a long time to build a house, right? Building a house is really challenging. but like writing a book, writing a really good story, it's kind of like that too. You build the foundation, you kind of fix the plumbing, you have the frame of it, and it's a very similar process without ever having to get your hands dirty or to break a sweat. You might break a sweat. Writing on a hot day, you'll definitely get sweaty, but like it's just a different measurement, I suppose, of difficulty. See, I go back, and it's just a habit. It's just a habit. Ooh. Tom's just trying to take control of the situation, calm everybody down. He doesn't even want to go inside. Oh man. Nick knows what's up. It's like, I just want to leave. This is a mess. And Jordan, I totally get where Nick's coming from. I would not want to be here. Tough day in the Gatsby storyline. Okay, on a good pace here. We're doing good. We're gonna make these last few episodes. They're gonna be really good. They're gonna be the best episodes yet. I don't know what that even means. This part, Nick is like talking right towards us. This is really interesting. He hasn't really done this whole chapter. It's almost like summarizing how he feels about this mess of a day. just wants to remove himself from everything that happened today. It's like, it is very interesting how from the beginning of this chapter to where we are now, so much has changed. It was like this itself could have been a short story, you know what I mean? Like every chapter needs to have an arc of its own. And I think this one can kind of live it as itself as a very short story. Like you don't need all the backstory of Gatsby and what he's doing or anything like that, or the backstory of Tom and his like infidelity. I think this is like the core of the story, and everything else just kind of like branches off from it. It's like the tip of a tree, an iceberg, something like that, and you have everything else, and it kind of peaks in the middle. So you can kind of picture it that way, of what a chapter should look like, or what the climactic chapter should look like. And it's what is it called? A fractal, where every part is like an extension of the smaller part. Like a story is just made up of tinier stories. I think of it that way. It helps break it down. Doesn't seem as daunting. And then you could choose to like, oh, what piece should I remove? Which piece? And then you're left with the core of the story. And I think we're here now. Where am I? Okay. I love, just delightful. You can really feel like through this whole experience, the course of this chapter, which is where the change kind of happened. It's like Nick has lost his love for Gatsby. The admiration that he had for him is pretty much gone now. And I think that's a sad realization for both these characters. And so tragic. What a tragic story. Oh. Hi. Okay. All right. Right. I gotta work on this. Sorry. Ooh. She's dead. It's true. Gatsby in trouble. This is such a powerful line. I'm trying to highlight it. What is this? This is new. Yeah. Google Docs. Things are updating without my permission. Everything is updating without my permission. Just want things to be the same for a bit. Yeah, I really like this line because it says so much. It's like, I don't even care about you enough to tell you that you're wrong. You know how it is? It's like when a friend is wrong, you try to make an effort to correct them. But when a stranger is just being awful and rude, and it's like, I'm never gonna see you again. It's okay. There's no reason for me to even like communicate with you anymore. I think that's what's happening. It's gonna break apart. Gonna break apart. All right, this seems like a good time to do the Fitzgerald fun fact of the day. Fun fact of this episode. This one's super fun. Perhaps the most fun we'll ever have. Here he goes. In 1924, Fitzgerald and his family moved to France, where he began work on The Great Gatsby. He did some of his rewriting in Rome. And why this is fun, I'll tell you why, is because I don't know who else, like someone, it might be like Hemingway said this, but you never write, or his approach is when you're in a place, like for example, I'm in Vancouver right now. When you're living in Vancouver, you don't write about Vancouver. And so in order to write about a place, you have to go somewhere else. Like The Great Gatsby is the quintessential like 1920s American story. And it's interesting that Fitzgerald didn't write it in America. He wrote it in Europe. And it's just that notion that you need a bit of distance from the subject matter in order to write about it objectively. If you're living in a place and you're writing about it, you're kind of, I don't know if that's better or worse. I think it's just like the whole idea of a home. And you want to write, when you're writing, you're kind of escaping your current location. It just seems very consuming. Like it's almost harder to be in a place and then write about that place itself. Right? It's just like, okay, I'm living here, I'm writing about this place. You don't get that escape that you kind of need. And to write about America while living in Europe seems like such a refreshing thing. You could see it from far away. And when you're done writing about it, about West Egg or whatever, you can just walk outside and you're in Europe, and you could kind of drop your notebook like that and feel kind of refreshed, more like energized to continue the story, more motivated to continue working on it because you're not consumed by it in all angles. I think it helps with fiction for sure, especially if you're writing about real places, to not, I mean, let me know what you think. Do you write about let me rephrase this. Do you write stories set in the location that you are physically in? Or when you're writing, do you choose to write about somewhere you're not currently in? So that idea needs a bit of editing. But there you go. That was Fitzgerald fun fact of the day. Where am I again? Okay. Yeah. This is interesting because I've been struggling with this, and that's when you're writing a first-person narrative. It happens that you end up repeating information that the audience already knows, like both the narrator and you as a reader already knows. Like, we know her name is Wilson and her husband owns the garage, but what makes this like more interesting is that it's an exchange of things we know and the things we don't know. We don't know how it happened. So when we give up things that we know, it's like, oh, this is so repetitive. Why am I repeating this again? It's like, oh, you entice it by, okay, I'm sharing this idea with you, and now I'm getting more information again. It's like I'm repeating something I already know, but I'm getting more details. It's a conversation that gets to, it creates this momentum that happens, and it's just not, oh, I'm reading about the same thing again. I mean, what I think a bad job would look like in this scenario is if Nick keeps talking about, explaining about, oh, Wilson, blah, 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 all this stuff, and never gets to the point where Gatsby needs to give some information. And just recognizing that when you're writing, there needs to be, if you're repeating something, at the end of it, you should get something new in return for the knowledge that you already have, so it doesn't get too stale and repetitive. Ooh. Tough. There's no... This always confused me when it's like a paragraph break within the dialogue. Another page. I think this is, I believe I talked about it before, and the best way to approach ending a chapter, if it's not the last chapter, even if it is the last chapter, is it resolves the problem. So we know now how the car accident happened. Daisy was driving, but it creates another set of problems by understanding the answer to our previous question. It leads to another question. It's like, oh, but now what? And what makes a chapter ending great is leaving the reader with the "and now what" question in their mind. You don't want them to be like, oh, okay. You don't want to leave them with that satisfied feeling until the very end. You want them to keep going, oh, I see. But, and now what? You need to propose a new problem. And I think this is what's happening now. It's leading up to another situation that requires us to ask a question. And now what? And now that we know that Daisy drove into Myrtle Wilson, now what? It's an important thing to keep in mind when you're creating these chapter breaks, or even when you're writing the story, is understanding the questions, the answers, the promise you make to your reader, have the payoff, and then lead to another promise. So now what is like, oh, and now what's gonna happen to Daisy? Is she gonna get arrested? Is she gonna get beaten up by Tom? Is she gonna run away with Gatsby? What's gonna happen next? Let's take a moment to do our typing for 1 minute and seeing how much we can type. I got some missed calls here. I don't know how. It doesn't have a SIM card. I'll check it later. All right. The most exciting part of the show. Michael, you ready? You ready for this? We're going for 70 words. 70 words in a minute. I could do this. It's going to be exciting. We'll celebrate after. It's going to be great. It's going to be huge. All right. On your marks. That's it. Go. Well, it caught me by surprise because I was expecting the duck. I forgot night owl. I remember changing that. That felt really good. I felt like I was on a roll. I even backspaced once, which is super dangerous when you're trying to type really fast. Let's see how we did. 70. Almost. I remember telling you that my record was 80. I think it proved today that it wasn't just a dream. It's possible. I could do this. That felt like a really good run. Really good sequence there. I was channeling something. The Usain Bolt of typing. Imagine if typing became like a sport. Should be. National Typing Championship. Like a stenographer competition. I think there's something there. I really do think there's something there. Even though typing, like the art of it, I'm sure it's like, will people need to type in like 10 years? I don't think so. I think you could just say the words and then it'll appear in text. No. You wouldn't even need to speak. You just like think it. And then whoever is trying to receive your thoughts can just like, yes, Elliot is speaking or thinking this. or Elliot's sending me an idea, and it's just like 3 ellipses for a bit, or just 1 ellipses, 3 dots, and it's like they receive it, and it's like, oh, Elliot has this really witty, Elliot and his witty ideas just inceptioned into my brain. All right, gonna fire engine driving by. I don't know what's going on. Let's finish this chapter. I was so close, 1 word away from 80. That was pretty impressive. I was just trying to get to 70. Before I was like, oh, if I could get to 80. I mean, when you make 80 the goal, then not getting to 80, you feel like, I failed. But when you make 70 a goal and you surpass it, felt good. I haven't gotten there in a while. I think it's all about picking the right paragraphs too. Sometimes they have really complicated words, and I hyphenated drawing room, so that could have pushed me to 80 if they were separate words. All right, let's finish this. You right? I didn't even see him being cute behind me. My mistake there. Oh, L. Oh. There. Whew. that's how the chapter ends. A little funny, actually. Little you see just how pathetic these characters are, and it really paints that this guy who has everything, just sad. Love. That's love, baby. That's love. Next episode, chapter 8. Chapter 8 of 9. So we're almost there. That was the longest chapter in the whole book. And I don't know how many episodes of this it took to get there, but it felt like a while. This one was rather quick, very productive. I think we learned a lot. Yeah, I look forward to getting this done. I really do. Like so close now. Like I said, I feel like just from counting the pages, I think there's 6 episodes left. 6 episodes left. So savor these ones. Savor them, because they're not gonna last forever. Things are changing, and just enjoy the moment. Just enjoy the moment. So often we're like, I can't wait for this project to be over. I can't wait to be done. But we gotta savor these moments, right? Great Gatsby. Look at him, smoking a cigarette. So cool. It's such a, like, out of all the covers, this is probably the worst one. I mean, it's good art, good drawing, but it's just terrible. It doesn't hook me, you know? It doesn't have any, like, oh, you gotta read about this guy. This white guy. Anyways, that's all I want to talk about today. Very good. Did very good, right? Alright, I'll see you next time.